What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Awakening World. I'm your host, and I need to be honest, I'll let you know that yesterday I got very, very sick. This is the first time I've actually propped myself up. So you're not going to get much Scott today. But what you are going to get is the wonderful Omashar, Dolphin Casper, and Emily Orem. And today's topic is self-love, and I'm having to practice self-love today by taking it easy. Would love to have you put in the chat box what self-love means to you, or questions you might have about self-love. And I'm going to turn over to Omashar to get us going with a musical number.
Well, welcome and namaste, everybody. And before we do start, I would like us all just to focus on our beloved and fearless leader who is definitely exhibiting symptoms of self-love today. And that's just maximum grace. Beautiful Scott. I'm going to bring you back on the thingamajig for a moment, Scott. And dude, maximum grace, brother, for your health and for your healing and for letting yourself heal, because someone as driven as you sometimes needs to be laid down and stroked on the forehead, etc., and be given marshmallows and stuff. And so maximum grace for your healing, dear brother. And
Thank you.
I have a bit of a raucous opening song here, so I shall see you in a minute. Love you so much. And whoa, there's that one. Let's get this right. And that's there. Hey there, Mr. Blue, we're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Hey there, Mr. Blue, we're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Mr. Blue, you did it right, but soon comes Mr. Night, bringing over, but if his hand is on your shoulder, never mind. I'll remember you this way.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful, Omashar. Thank you.
Definitely interesting, brother. I only I was thinking, what do I play tonight? Because this always comes, and this song came up, and I haven't played it for years. And
Wow.
a blue sky outside, so I spent about 2 hours trying to get it into some kind of a form.
Uh,
And yeah, anyway,
thank you for all that you do to just provide us with the beautiful music that you provide. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
maximum grace to one.
Mm. Well, tonight's show is all about the most important love of all, self-love. And self-love can include love of our human self and also the divine self. And when I knew that I wanted to do this topic, it was essential that Emily Oram be one of our guests because Emily is a brilliant coach and she teaches about self-love with such honesty and vulnerability. Um, and well, what can I say? She's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. Um, so it's my pleasure to get us started, to turn it over to the Heart Ninja, Emily Orm.
Oh, wow, Scott. Well, it doesn't take much. You already got me tearing up here. I guess that's the thing I want to say is the more that we have the courage to be vulnerable and open up our heart, is the more that we welcome in the love that we want. And I want to start with that because often we get scared to show our emotions, or we've been shamed or made wrong for having big emotions, or even anger or tears or grief for some of these uncomfortable emotions, even arousal has maybe been shamed. And so we have these fears of being rejected or made wrong, and or conflict, and have had situations in the past, and even when we were younger, that when we were vulnerable, we didn't have caregivers that knew how to tend to our emotions, right, or attune to us, because they were disconnected from their own emotions, right? And so I guess that's the piece that I want to say is I welcome all your feelings here, and it's a beautiful opportunity to have the courage to share our vulnerable heart. And I really feel that the love that we find by being vulnerable is greater than the fear of the rejection that we usually find. And that's a hard one for me. It's taken me a lot of practice to continue to have the courage to be authentic and vulnerable, because I have fear judgment, or fear that I'm doing something wrong, or that it's going to cause conflict. And if it does, how do we take care of ourselves, right, in relation to the way others respond to our vulnerable heart and these different parts of our emotions? So I guess that's the first thing I wanted to just share, like coming on already feeling my tears opening up, is what a beautiful opportunity to be here and to share our truth, and to share who we are, and to welcome more love into this space.
Beautiful. Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much. Our other guest is the co-founder of Relationflix. And last week we had Steve Rowland on, and this week we've got the other co-founder of Relationflix, Dolphin Casper. And Dolphin's been on the show a couple times, and every time he speaks, there's just such wisdom. I mean, there's no surprise that he's the co-founder of the best relationship platform on the planet. And his life is clearly dedicated to understanding relationships. So thank you, Dolphin. And what are your opening thoughts?
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate being invited. Always a pleasure to see you. Nice to see everyone here. I think to myself, a lot of us have come into the world and navigated life where the core needs we have are not always met. And for some of us, often so. And that shows up as a lot of pain and difficulty, and often soul searching. We're trying to make sense, like, why am I not able to receive the love that in my heart I know belongs to me? And as we get older, in a real way, I think what we're looking to do is to learn how to parent ourselves in the way that our parents weren't ready, willing, or able to. And one of the things that I'm often thinking about, I have a young son, he turns 3 this Friday. and obviously wanting to provide as much love and care and support for him as I possibly can. And what's become clear to me is that love is not always doing what makes the person feel good, which presents particular challenges. I think of love in some way containing a combination of structure, what I call structure and nurture. So sometimes love is solid, sometimes love is straight, sometimes love is support, sometimes love is boundaries, and sometimes love is just this warm, open, loving embrace and all of the nurturing care that we could imagine. And each moment, in a way, is our being is calling for a certain combination of those two things. And so for me, self-love isn't just the kind of slow, gentle, calming aspect of love that maybe we would often think of as self-love. I think sometimes self-love is knowing it's time to kick yourself in the butt and to get up and to get out of bed, or to get out of the house and do something difficult. And sometimes it's just to recede and allow life to continue, and to really slow down enough to listen and to attune and to care for yourself in a gentle, loving way. And that begs questions, and it also presents us with particular challenges of how do we listen and attune in a way that allows us to be in relationship with what life is calling on us to show up with in terms of what love can represent. And so to me, I hope, I always love and appreciate Emily and what she brings to the table. And I'm looking forward to engaging everyone that's here. Please, again, get into the chat regularly throughout, ask questions, let us know what's resonating, let us know what's challenging for you that we might be able to get into. But for me, self-love is finding a way to give the right combination of care based on what we need. And much of that is a mystery, but I believe life is the journey of discovering what that love is really about.
I absolutely love that so much, Dolphin. I kind of think about this marriage piece. I talk about like the inner lover of both the feminine and the masculine. You could call it like the yin and the yang, the light and the dark, these polarity spectrums that we're working on, where I feel like the light is connected to like our higher self, our divine self. The body, the heart is connected to matter, which is usually our feminine. And how do we balance those two, right? Like I think about, the loving father that comes in is like, get up, it's time to get out of bed. All right. Like, nope, we're not doing that. No, you can't have that candy. Sorry. Nope, that's not going to work today, And then the loving, compassionate sort of mother that's like, I love you no matter what. I'm here for you. You can fall apart. And it really is this dance, and I think it's not trying to figure it out also and getting caught up in figuring it out, but attuning into the moment of what's really serving our highest and best good. I kind of like, that's a question that I tend to come back to, is like, what's really serving the highest and best good for me in at any given moment, and sometimes it's not something that is comfortable.
Yeah. Well said.
I'm having trouble putting words together, so bear with me. But I want to read some of the comments that have come in from our audience, and really want to encourage people to express themselves in the chat box. Sylvia wrote, "Self-care for me now may sound like a contradiction. It's a chance to receive." Susan writes, "I'm hearing that self-love is being attuned to your own needs. My biggest challenge is my perception of the lack of sovereignty in others. I find it is hard to trust people who do not really have understanding of their own behavior." That's deep. Eleanor Joy writes, "I totally concur and understand. As some wonderful beings from the Stargate community said, they are thanking me for giving them the opportunity to give blessings and share love." And so thank you for those comments. And there's something that Dolphin said that I want to touch on, and then I'm going to disappear. I had a client that I was working with yesterday actually, and he's always had a lack of self-love. And as we dove deep into it, when he was 7 years old, his father died in a skydiving accident. And it was on a Saturday. And my client's interpretation was, my dad chose to go skydiving and die instead of spending Saturday with me. And has then created a series of experiences that kind of justify or validate that idea, I can't trust anybody. Anybody that I trust is going to eventually leave me. And of course, he's got the whole litany of experiences of girlfriends that have left him, wives that have left him, business partners that have left him. And, the inner child always wants to love mommy and daddy. And so often, even if there's been a negligent parent or an abusive parent, they will attract those experiences to prove that daddy or mommy wasn't really that bad. That's just the way men are, or just the way people are, or just the way the world treats me. So I'd love to hear what both of you have to say about that dynamic.
Well, I'd love to touch on that. So I, like probably people in this room, I grew up as what I call a parentified child. So both of my mother and father were alcoholics, and my mom had a substance addiction to methamphetamines. So for a large portion, my dad ended up going kind of conservative, Republican, religious. My mom, like, I grew up in a meth lab. So I grew up bouncing between those two different realities. I ended up saving my mom's life at 5 and becoming her parent. And then whatever I did at my dad's, I was judged or made wrong, or like I never felt like I could be myself. So in a sense, I was at my mom's where I could do whatever I wanted. There was no boundaries and there was just chaos. And I was taking care of everyone that was having overdoses. And then my dad was like this, like strict, like, put on this mask, like you can't do that, like very shaming and critical. And so I grew up with all sorts of kinds of belief systems that everyone's fucked up. Like, I need to take care of everybody. Like, I don't feel safe. Nobody's here to take care of my needs. My whole identity is created by taking care of other people. And the people that I'm taking care of, I don't love, like, I want to love them, but it's hard for me to love them and I don't trust them. So my whole experience in relationships has been very challenging. I then married a meth addict, and have had just so many series of challenged relationships because based in the reactions and the belief systems and the familiarity of what I learned, I just kept playing that out, right? And it's been, like Dolphin said, is this experience of like learning to reparent myself. But the trouble that's been really hard is, how do you reparent yourself if you've never been modeled any of these needs, right? Like, can you relate to that? Like, I didn't even know what safety was. Like, I didn't even know I could speak for my needs. Like, it's taken me years and years and years to figure out like who I am and that I'm okay being me. And like, what is a core essential self, right? And what is operating based in a role that we've taken on to survive, right? So like, that's a really huge piece too, is like based in the wounds that have happened or the lack of parenting that we had, like what role or roles have we taken on to survive, and how is that ready to evolve, shift, or change to then, be able to come more into alignment with the truth of who we are. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to share, and just for an understanding of like also giving permission for anybody in this room to like, trauma's real, like trauma is real, and that it takes a lot of courage to also talk about it and come out and be seen and witnessed and loved in these places of these challenges that we've been through and the core wounds that have gotten developed.
Beautiful. Scott's still with us. Shall I just jump in?
He is. I'll Dolphin, I was going to read something from the chat. Dear
Yeah,
Therese says, is the concept of self-sabotage even real? And or is it the opposite of self-love? That is an interesting question.
Yeah, I feel satisfied with Emily's response to Scott's question. I'd love to actually tell a story in terms of the self-sabotage piece. So a big part of my life as I was kind of getting into the world of work is working with youth, and mostly at-risk youth, so youth that have a very intimate relationship with trauma. And at one point, I was in a group home, and I was sitting down, and me and this young man we were having a heart-to-heart, and he was 18 years old and had always struggled to have relationships with women. And he was telling me about this girl he had been hanging out with, and that he was really into her, and it seemed like there was the possibility of a relationship. And they hung out a few times, and he was starting to really like this person. And then he told me he blew it up. He just, basically ghosted her, wouldn't respond to things. When he did respond, it was very short, and he basically, exploded the relationship. And I'm listening, I'm asking questions, I'm being curious. And then at some point I said, do you know why you did that? And, most 18-year-old guys, I don't think would be able to articulate what happened, but this was a very self-reflective young man. And he said, it mattered so much to me that the idea of having a relationship with her and then it ending would have completely shattered me. And so, one of the things that we do, it's not the only thing, but one of the very common things we do is that and so underlying that piece, and what I think was also motivating his choice to just not even go there, was some sense of unworthiness, like I'm not good enough. And so if you feel as though it's going to end anyway, and that it's going to be catastrophic for you, most people prefer to have some sovereignty, some sense of agency around the pain, versus the pain coming out of left field or directly from the person that we love. So in a lot of ways, the self-sabotage is like the lesser of evils, at least in our own mind. And whereas I don't believe it's a true solution to our pain and our sense of unworthiness, it is a tool that we learn very early on that does help us feel like we have some sense of agency and control in things that feel so scary and so painful. So for me, self-sabotage as a concept is useful. It's relevant, that it points to a certain aspect of human psychology and a certain aspect of human behavior. And if we bring a willingness to feel more deeply and a sense of compassion for ourselves and others, we can start to see, like, of course we would do that. And then hopefully we can touch into what I often talk about as a North Star, or a reason for being, that allows us to properly hold the pain of vulnerability and existence as we heal our traumas. So, which is all possible, and it's not simple, and it's certainly not painless.
Well, I'm just going to read another couple of comments here, Dolphin and Emily, and then we'll introduce Nicholas. But Eleanor Joyce says, thank you, Emily, for what you were stating and you're sharing earlier, very raw. And at the age that she is, of almost 82, I'm still figuring out who is the real me. So never give up. So that's a trip. And George Noble has an interesting little experience he just had. And it says, what about when desire is an authentic feeling? One time recently, desire and my sick woman friend, who had earlier thrust her pelvis against me, drove me away. She's been having sex with another man who is paying her rent, an old school woman, socialized to believe that the man takes care of the real world money stuff. She only needs to keep him happy. The 70s ended before she was a teen, so I talked to her about sovereignty being self-supporting, being important, as well as the sexual freedom she so obviously has understood. I don't know if those are questions or just statements. And the last one I'll read is from Ayata. And she says, morphinogenic fields. I was thinking about them today in the context of generational patterns repeating, and I did an online search and discovered that ancestral family morphinogenic morphogenic fields, morphogenetic fields, hey, there we are actually a thing where emotional, psychological relationship patterns are energetically held and transferred down through the generations. So that's, she's saying, just another aspect of this conversation, how we inherit stuff from beyond the grave. And so, yeah. So I'm going to leave us there. I'm going to bring on Nicholas, and let's continue this after we've centered and done the meditation thing. Where are you, Nikki? Nikinu. Oh, there we are. Hey, dear brother.
Hey, brother.
Nice.
How's my guy?
Yeah, you look great, and the internet's a little choppy, but hopefully your voice will be good. And so you've heard the context of what we're talking about tonight and how deeply impacting it is. And we love you so much, and we will leave you in your hands now as you lead us into a meditation. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my brother. And here we go. What I was inspired to share and bring into the space of meditation is the perspective of how powerful the practice of meditation truly is. And for me, coming into the perspective of the self-sabotaging and all that we were speaking into, about one word, and the word was feeling. And for me, in the simplest ways, meditation supports me to get better at feeling, to be able to feel things, to feel all of life, and through all of it, to be able to feel myself within it and not lose that center, that essential core self that I heard that's very powerful. To be the eye in the storm. And so let's take this time to come into this space of feeling, to come into this idea of we only know what we feel for a few moments, just stepping back from the party of our life, so to say, and to just feel. Meditation is definitely not to escape or to run away or to numb out, but it's to develop the capacity to be able to feel all of life. And that the idea is that potentially in the craziness of life, that there is a divinity, there is a beauty, a love, an intelligence guiding us. And the more that we develop a sensitivity to feel, we can feel the currents and the way that it's guiding us and not resist and feel that intensity. And so to do this, we're going to come into a posture. It's a mudra that we may have seen a lot in ancient portraits. It could be called the Christ mudra, where the pointer finger and the middle finger, the Jupiter finger and the Saturn finger will connect. Some may say this is the original peace sign. We'll hold it right here in front of the breast, just up by the shoulders. And relax here. Let the eyes fall closed. And set this context for the mind to relax into. I only know what I feel. And go through this journey of your senses. Start with the taste in your mouth. Take a swallow. Notice how that makes you feel. Take a deep breath in. A full sigh out. Hear the sound of the breath. Stay with the sound of the breath. And contemplate. Can you feel the sensation of the air touching the skin of your face? Can you feel the air around your fingers? And just go on a little journey here. Let your awareness be big. I only know what I feel. And rather than focusing on one thing, just contemplate and observe and feel all that you possibly can, all that you are aware of, even your thoughts. You can observe how your thoughts make you feel. As you stay with the breath, hold the posture, let the heart open, coming into the heart, softening the mind. I only know what I feel for just a few moments. Remaining as still as possible, smooth and steady rhythmic breath. No getting it right, just allowing and feeling. Allow your awareness to expand, to be big. Remaining in the posture for a few more breaths, deep, steady, rich breath. And hold the mudra, the fingers, the pointer, and the middle finger as stiff as possible. And for one more breath in the posture, deeply inhale and pause at the top of the breath. And lift the heart. Calm and steady. Through the nose, exhale. Then slowly let the hands come towards one another. And the two fingertips, the pointer and middle finger, Jupiter and Saturn, will touch just in front of the heart center, about 4 inches in front. And with the symbolism of the fingers touching, invite in a grand harmony, a beautiful balance of your energy, of your focus into the heart, trusting in what you feel is real, that you can always trust in the wisdom of the heart and what you feel here. Make that connection within. Touch that sweetness of simply feeling relaxed, feeling like yourself. Okay, once again, deep breath in here in the posture. Pause and lift the heart. Bring it in like a dot. And as you exhale, relax the posture. Let the hands fall down, palms up. And from that dot at the heart, feel the energy expand, relaxing and softening even deeper. Relaxed breath, relaxed face and jaw. I only know what I feel. May we always remember that all that we need is closest to us. And may we continue to develop that connection. For this connection is always there, always available. All we have to do is open the door and look within. Okay. And in your own way, just slowly coming back, maybe rubbing the hands and face and eyes. Thank you all for your presence and participation. I send my love and blessings and gratitude.
Nicholas, thank you so much, brother. Your guidance is so gratefully received. You're such a clear channel. And anybody who's on Instagram, you can actually get Nicholas Thellis, more doses of him on Instagram, and that's Nicholas, and his last name is Thales. That's apparently the only way he exists in social media. I've tried everything, searched everywhere, but Instagram is it. And so thank you, brother. And very interesting, during the broadcast from V, you had your where have you gone? You had your there it is. You had your fingers up, and I think the screen was responding to finger gesticulations, and we had balloons going up and virtual confetti coming down. So that's on your phone. So it's celebrating. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next week, hopefully. And have a beautiful, blessed time with whatever you're doing, because I know it's always blessed. And I shall bring back on Dolphin and Emily in a moment, just checking to see if there's anything more in the chat. Sylvia says, self-care for me now sounds like a contradiction. For her, it's a chance to receive. And I think that's pretty much all that hasn't been read out.
Susan Bloomquist actually said something that is a good question, actually.
Searching back for it.
So I'll
I think Susan Bloomquist says, I think addressing trauma together is a very important part of community. Is that what you're referring to, Scott?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
And then Dia Therese wrote, Dolphin, spot on response, so poignantly expressed, practical, clear, sensitive, much appreciated. I enjoy your incisive expression. Namaste. And just now, Dia Therese wrote, oh, Nicholas, I love being with you, and the Jesus Mudra, your curly locks are still there, right? So there we go. All right, turn it over to the two of you for whatever is alive that you want to share or converse with each other about this topic.
Yeah, I would just like to kind of call on everyone who's here in the room with us to keep engaging in the chat. Let us know how things are moving for you after that meditation. Often creating space is one of the first things that we want to do if we struggle with self-love, or if we're wanting to dip into sort of deeper, more attuned, more connected forms of self-love. It is creating that space. And one of the things that I often point people to that I'm working with is, if that's so, if opening to the present moment, if opening into a deeper feeling of life is the pathway, what that suggests to me is that it's already there. So we don't have to find this exotic self-love. We don't have to find this thing that's somewhere out there and we just didn't get it. It's actually woven into what we are as human beings, what we are as life. And that's a trust in life that so many of us have struggled with, because in some ways life is not safe, and in some ways life is not trustworthy. In some ways, relationship is not trustworthy. And the big mistake we make is that the underlying dynamics of life are untrustworthy. And so for me, coming back to wholeness, coming back to our real capacity to love ourselves and heal ourselves, is to recognize the challenging duality that on a fundamental level, life really knows what it's doing. On a fundamental level, life is informing how the next moment is meant to unfold. Simultaneously, there is danger. There are the possibility of threat. There's the possibility of being hurt in emotional and physical ways. So for us to learn how to hold these dualities with grace, and then what I often say is, being innocent to life is not the same as being naive. So innocence means we are utterly ourselves in relationship to life. We're not trying to hold up anything against it or to guard ourselves against the isness of life. Simultaneously, that doesn't mean that I should, the example I often give is, okay, you're walking down the street and you come to a dark alleyway and there's a bunch of people there and they're carrying weapons and they look like they're in a really bad mood. It doesn't mean you just run towards them because you're innocent, right? That's being naive. So innocence is a kind of open-heartedness, and naivety is where we don't listen to the common sense that's there in us. And learning how to do that, I think, is one of the core requisites of good, nourishing, sustainable self-love.
Super powerful, Dolphin. Thank you for sharing that. I think this piece that really comes up for me is around cultivating, like you said, this space. How do we build inner security? Right? So much of us have been taught that what we're looking for is outside of ourselves. The love that we seek, the security, those are like two core basic needs. And really what we want, and like Nicholas said, it really is all inside of us. And it's the ability to really go in and experience the fullness of life and build that internal safety that no matter what I'm feeling and experiencing, God, the divine, wouldn't want me to experience it if I didn't choose to be in this body, right? Like, you are safe to feel these feelings, even though they're super uncomfortable. I mean, I've been going through a lot in my personal life, and I've been really working with the feeling of despair. And it's been really hard for me to allow that and to feel the fragility of my life, and even thoughts of like, is it worth it to be here? Some really like dark places. And there's a part of me that's like, wow, like, why am I, I can understand some things in my life, but on some level, like, I am meant to open, like Nicholas said, the doorway to that experience, to feel it, and to honestly build the inner security that I'm going to make it, even though I don't feel like I'm going to make it. I'm going to feel through it and open up more into this doorway into love and the divine. And I don't know about all of you, but thinking about just moments where you've had these feelings where like you wonder if you're going to make it, or these feelings or these experiences in life that are just so hard, and yet you survived it, right? You come through it, and there's some kind of beauty or lesson that it gives you, or beauty, like, they talk about the polarity, it's like the deeper that you feel grief is usually the deeper that you can feel love, the deeper that you can feel shame is the, your capacity to like hold a sense of compassion for, yourself and others. So amazing that on some level, this human experience is like, we're living on a planet of polarity, we're here to experience the fullness of life. And I think part of it is like growing our capacity to say yes to that, no matter how uncomfortable. But that like doesn't mean, like Dolphin said, don't like, when real danger is at threat, or like don't be naive, have discernment, like understand where you need to titrate or have your sense of boundaries about you, right? But also this piece of like the inner security that you can build with your ability to process these deep emotions is your ability to really actually experience the fullness of life itself through you.
So I have a couple of comments here. One from Dorina Joy, and she says, honestly, self-love has been the most difficult, challenging, yet most transformative part of my journey. For the first decades of my life in native Bulgaria, it was programmed by my school system, communist society, popular culture, and even family that it meant selfishness, egoism, and lack of care for others. It took decades of inner work reprogramming, trauma healing, and unlearning all about true love to realize, accept, and now embody the self-love that is life-saving. And her question is, what aspect of self-love is most important to practice for you now? And I'm just going to throw in one more question there. Could you also perhaps put in some self-parenting, reparenting tips?
Mm. Yeah, what amazing questions. So I'll answer the personal one for myself, and I want to start with something a little bit more general, and then I'll speak about myself. One of the things that is going to be there, in some ways, we figured it out, right? We're here, we have a breath and a heartbeat. So we didn't do it all wrong, right? We know how to get food in our mouths, we know how to, bathe ourselves and get dressed. And, for the most part, we're functional human beings, riddled with frailties and faults, but we're human. And so what happens is that we're better at some things than others. And that might seem like such an obvious thing to say, but when it comes to self-love, there's certain ways that each of us are ready, willing, and able to care for ourselves in. And then there are other things that we struggle with. And so what's not helpful, I think, is to think, oh, like I just have no ability to take care of myself. What's more likely the case is that there are certain areas and aspects of life that you are better at and that you take better care of, and others that you don't. And I'll bring up an example where I worked with athletes for a number of years as a coach. And one of the things that we'll notice when working with athletes is that there's certain movement patterns that are really practiced. And those movement patterns help that athlete succeed in a certain way, in a certain context. But they may not be the most efficient. They may not be the most effective. And if you want to, if you want that athlete to get to a higher level of physical performance, you're going to have to get in and work with those patterns. And what's going to happen is the athlete will perform worse in the short term. They will feel less comfortable. And the way that they look to be performing, it looks like things have gone backwards. They've regressed. And in the psychological, emotional space, the same kinds of things happen. We get good at certain kinds of actions, certain kinds of behaviors, certain responsive and reflexive strategies to different kinds of relational dynamics. And those become our strengths. And just like in sport, some of the things that we've practiced that allowed us to get through and to manage and cope, now we're in the way of the next levels of growth and development in the world of relationship. And what's going to be needed is for us to lean into those places and to engage those places where in the short term, things look and feel worse. We feel more vulnerable. We feel more, we feel worse about ourselves. We feel less motivated. Like there's all sorts of things that our coping strategies are keeping us from. But just like in Robert Frost, right, the only way out is through. And so when it comes to healing trauma, it doesn't mean we need to endlessly just drudge up the past and keep kind of cathartically feeling our pain. It's not really about feeling the pain, but there needs to be a willingness to lean into what's difficult. There needs to be a willingness to begin to lean into what has been most uncomfortable and painful. And somehow engaging that space that we've avoided has the antidote to our pain and our trauma. And so for me, if we looked through the lens of attachment, my attachment style is more oriented. I've played both sides, but it's more oriented towards what they call avoidant attachment. And so part of my self-care, that's my edge, is when I have a need, expressing it before it becomes overwhelming for me. Because what I learned as a child is, there's too much going on. Mom is too busy. She's got too much to handle. And I'm just going to manage myself over here. My needs aren't important enough to bring them forward and inconvenience, her or the family or whoever was taking care of me. And so my self-love is about learning that when I have a need, it's valid. And when I have a need, it's okay for me to speak it. And simultaneously, the double-edged sword is, it's also okay for me to express my need and for the other person to say, well, I don't want to meet that need right now. And to find a way for that all to be okay. That's part of my self-love and self-care, is like giving voice to my needs and then When the other person doesn't show up, then I look to meet those needs on my own. And I'm not as good at it as I would like to be. And I know it's one of my richest edges in terms of developing this deeper practice of self-care. And of course, when I do it well, I'm so much more available to my partner. I'm so much more available to my son. I'm so much more available to the people that I work with. I'm so much more available to the communities that I'm a part of. So this ability and willingness to care for ourselves, which for the avoidant will often feel selfish, in a broader, longer term context, it's the only way I can give what I truly want to give to the people that I love.
So, Dolphin, something to interject here is from Susan. I think the yes has to be how we are fitting into the whole of this breaking down society. Can we be self-love people in a world of a repressive society?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good point. And I believe we can. It's this funny dichotomy because we're communal creatures, human beings. We're fundamentally social. We couldn't survive. Human beings literally could not survive without social connection, cohesion, and cooperation. Period. Like now, modern times that's changed, but in terms of everything in our evolutionary past, we needed each other and we needed to be together and we needed to be social. So there is this dependency that we have on one another, this interconnectedness and interdependence. And I also believe there is something about the individual that is fundamentally sovereign, that the individual is not their choice. The agency that the individual has is not wholly dependent on the social influence around them. And I think this is my take on that, is that I believe that we needed it for survival in the context of an evolutionary development. And we're at a crossroads. We're at a kind of precipice where we're about to fall into a new stage of evolution for humanity. And it's one where we begin to learn how to hold what genuine individual sovereignty is, where that is rightfully and cohesively integrated with our interconnectedness and interdependence. And the agency in a certain way has arose just recently in our evolutionary past. So like we're newly able to choose as individuals in ways that we never could before. And it's partly why there's so much chaos in the world. It's a fundamentally new capacity for human beings to function separately and individually outside of the communal whole. And what we're meant to do is to learn how to come back into rightful relationship with the whole. But right now we're in the liminal period where we're figuring out what that is. And we've had these mystics throughout time that have showed us, right? Like Buddha and Jesus and, all of these examples of what humanity can be in the individual form. And all they're really doing is pointing to and guiding us to a way that the individual can, with agency, choose to come back into alignment with the whole. And that wholeness is more whole than the wholeness that came before the agency. So now I'm getting into some kind of philosophical, spiritual stuff, but I'm trying to answer that question in a as complete a way as I know how.
Yeah, the thought is kind of like evolution is messy, like things need to like blow up and there needs to be challenge and discord and destruction. And it's like part of the life cycle of, birth, life, destruction. It's the arc, right? It's like in so much, we fear that. We fear death, that's a core survival thing. That's like, and so we attach, we hold on, we want to stay safe. We want to figure it out, know the thing. And this is my belief system. And this is my understanding. And like, we want to attach to things. And I think part of like the evolution is being willing to be open and let things be messy and recognize that it's a part of the process of things coming back into, ideally a greater alignment. And so being okay with that, being okay with the destructive process while also figuring out how do I take care of myself through the messiness of life right now, through this fact that we're in war, like, how do I associate with that? How do I love myself in relation to that, right? Rather than, getting lost in it and ideology and like analyzing and making it all about the mind. It's like, how do I come back to my own heart and how I feel and love myself in relation to that? So that's like another thing too, is like really coming back into understanding like this evolution process is messy. And I feel like it's a process that we're moving from what I call like codependency to then independence, which is that sovereignty and building self-agency, and then coming into the next stage, which I feel is like interdependence, which is ideally you as a whole being in your sovereign agency and the other as a sovereign being in their agency. We come together and we recognize that everyone belongs, everyone's views matter, they might differ, but we're really here to work together to be what I call in the collaborative win-win mutual dance of interconnection and alignment, without making anyone wrong or bad, but simply understanding there's this beautiful dance of differences that we get to interplay off of.
So in the chat, Ayata says, yes, I so agree that we are newly able to function individually. I've also long thought that this age of individualism was a necessary evolutionary stage.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. It's a tough one for us to receive that fully, because as Emily mentioned, like it comes with all sorts of discord. It comes with all sorts of conflict, inner and outer conflict. And the incredible thing, and I think this is the story of alchemy, it's the story of spiritual transformation, is somehow when we are able to be what love is in the midst of that disconnection and discord, what is unintegrated, what is disintegrated, naturally begins to come together in an integrative way. And so for me, self-love is first a making room for, it's first opening up as a channel through which the underlying love of life can move through us. And over time, what we learn to be full co-creative participants in that movement of love. And if we want to get into the real essence of what self-love is, it's that life, again, knows what it's doing. Life is, it moves as what love is. And human beings have this ability to choose to disagree, to be at odds with that movement and flow, or we can learn to align with it. And somehow it's like it redeems everything. Whatever came before, whatever the mess, whatever the discord, whatever the wrongdoing, whatever the evil, when love is free to move through, it redeems it all. And it's the story, every movie, everything that we've ever seen that makes the hair on the back of our neck stand up, that moment in that movie where a movement of virtue transforms the whole dynamic. I think the reason that touches us in the way that it does is because it's pointing us to our real power, our real magic in life.
Beautiful. Well, I think we got in the chat box kind of a desire to move into some kind of reparenting work. So I wanted to just bridge into that. And I thought a beautiful place would be into talking about healing shame. I think all of us carry shame in one way or another, a sense of inadequacy, a sense that I'm bad or wrong. And I want to share just a few ways that we can work on like really bringing a sense of healing. So kind of inviting us all to go on an inward journey is, I think, first up in really healing shame is to be able to understand where it got developed. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and allow yourself to center in your body, creating your own sense of safety and connection to the body and the earth, and feeling your breath. One more deep inhale, nourishing in through the belly and heart. And an exhale and just releasing and softening the body, knowing that you're safe and supported. And really tapping in to where you currently feel that shame inside your body. Noticing if it's a constriction, perhaps in your gut or in your throat. Just noticing the quality of what you sense and what you feel, and allowing that to be here, making space that you are safe to feel this. And breathing into it and just giving it absolute presence. Ah. And tuning into, where did this part of you get developed? Just going back, noticing if there's a certain time, a memory, noticing who's there or who's not there, or the situation at hand. And just holding a sense of compassionate presence and awareness as you bring yourself back to this place. And bringing your awareness to that part of you that is feeling inadequate or ashamed or not good enough. And touching into feeling in, what is that part of you needing? What were they longing for then and still longing for now? Just receiving the words, receiving the desire. Ooh. And simultaneously, while holding this tender part of you, I'm going to invite you to now shift your energy to call in the energy of whatever feels really alive for you, whether it's a loving father energy, a nurturing mother energy, just seeing where you have access, what energy do you feel is most alive for you that feels would be supportive to honoring this tender and vulnerable part of you. And breathing in, welcoming that archetype and energy, and feeling where you feel that in your body. Maybe it's a warm presence that comes through your heart, or it's a strength of an elder that feels like it comes through a specific part of your body. However you experience it, it's perfect. And inviting that wise parent to come in, that nurturing parent to come in and lean into this vulnerable, ashamed part of you, and just to create a sacred dialogue, a sacred connection. Leaning in and listening and offering love and perhaps reassurance to your little one, or whatever you most needed or need in this moment. And inviting you to put some hands on your heart, deepening this connection of these two parts of you inside. Loving, compassionate parent, mother, father, with child, vulnerable, tender, innocent. So beautiful. And recognizing you can always come back. This is a dynamic relationship, and one that you can nurture at any time as you bring your loving attention and awareness to this practice. So just taking a few more deep breaths just to complete this inward process, to say goodbye for now. Anchoring in the gift that you've received. And coming back in slowly in whatever way feels good and nurturing into presence together. So there is a part of me that I'm going to express that I'm feeling some shame that maybe that took a little bit too long, but hopefully you all found value from that. So that's my vulnerability.
It's a funny thing when I'm sharing something very raw and open. I feel that I'm taking up too much people's time. So it is a shame thing. I've always been truncated as a child. Don't shine too brightly, brother. And so I think that was you could have gone on for another 20 minutes, Emily. I think we would have all stayed with you. And something that IATA recently wrote was we are beginning to recognize that what we truly need is a healthy balance between individuality and community. That's exactly where we find ourselves poised right now. And so, yes, Emily, that was a very precious thing. And
Thank
carry
you.
on. Yeah.
And I definitely encourage people to write in the chat box, like, how was that? Were you able to create that connection with those two parts of you? And I would love to just hear the dialogue. And the other piece is like healing shame. Brené Brown talks a lot about like healing shame is your willingness to courageously tell your story. It's your ability to actually share your shame. So there's the inner healing, right? The inner reparenting work. But I believe that shame is healed like this in community, where we get together and we share these parts that we're so scared that if we were to share them, we would be rejected, we would be outcast, we would be abandoned. And like Dolphin said, we're tribal creatures. So it's this huge abandonment wound that keeps us like, oh, it's not scared. I'm literally going to be outcast from the tribe. So shame breeds more shame in hiding. And that's been a big core theme for my life is it's not safe to truly be me. I'm not going to be accepted. I'm not going to be wanted. And I think this is especially hard for people that are queer, which I'm queer and polyamorous. So there's a deeper level of like, it's not safe to be me and I need to hide. And we all have it. And so a big part of the healing of shame is being willing to courageously, vulnerably share your heart within community of safe allies, right? Like of, people that are willing to lean in with love and they've got some growth tools, and they're not going to create a space of violence for you by sharing your vulnerable heart. So there's some discernment there, right? Like who you open up to, the kinds of ways you open up. But what I've found is true healing of my shame has been willing to risk the abandonment, rejection, and conflict, even by sharing it or not getting my needs met, but being honest about my path or my part that I feel scared about. And that's been the liberation, no matter how the other person responds. And it's sometimes really hard. I don't get the love back that I want, but the ultimate love that I get is, wow, I was courageous to share my truth. I was courageous to be myself. I was courageous to be true to me. And that's not to be permission to be, saying things in a hurtful way or a violent way. It's like, again, vulnerability is, I believe, like we're self-responsible and it's coming from our feelings and our needs and our desires. But the courage to be able to be vulnerable and in ownership and share it is truly powerful and healing of that shame.
I mean, I think we're getting close to the end. I don't have a lot to add, Emily. That I mentioned in the chat, like that little practice was so perfect. It was the perfect timing. I think it could have gone for longer. Yeah, just really appreciating you and how things wove this evening. Really been enjoyable for me to be here. I think the only piece that I would add on the side of self-parenting is, one of the challenges for us, if we've struggled with self-love, and self-love and a lack of self-love and shame are almost synonymous. And what that suggests is that on some level we believe that we get what we deserve. This is one of the kind of the secondary beliefs that a young child will naturally go to once there's pain and once there's a sense of not belonging and being fully held and loved, is that there's something wrong. The wrong thing is in me and it's my fault. And like in some ways, like, of course, that's what a child would do. I wrote a little piece down as I was sitting here, just that most people will choose uh, painful certainty over painful uncertainty. So in other words, we use a judgment of ourselves, an unworthiness of ourselves, just so we can feel certain about something, because that sense of certainty gives us a ground to stand on. Whereas to be in pain and have no ground, it's so difficult to be in the world without a ground. And even though it's not a good ground to be on, in some way it feels more secure. And for me, the parenting path, the self-parenting path, doesn't need to just be us. In other words, you will find people that when you look at them, when you hear them speak, when you spend time with them, you know, something in your bones knows, like, this is what a present, loving, responsive parent is like. As soon as you get that little resonance, that touch, it will probably feel uncomfortable to you. And your job is to look for all of the ways and opportunities to lean in to being more connected with those people. And what will happen if you don't have a lot of ideas or resources or pathways of your own self-love and your own self-parenting, that by spending time with those people over time, you will actually absorb their capacity to parent. And it's what we do when we're little, and we can learn it when we're older. It's not as easy. There's more moving parts. There's more stuff in the way, but we can actually allow others to inform us of what loving parenting is by leaning into those relationships, when, again, it's likely you're gonna feel a deep resonance that this is just a genuinely good, loving person. And at the same time, it will probably feel scary to you to be close to them, to be connected. And so again, like, it doesn't matter if it's a therapist, if it's a coach, if it's someone at the rec center down the street, if it's someone at the painting program that you go to, it's like, it doesn't matter much. But looking for ways to spend more time with these people is one of the most nourishing things that you can do, and find ways to do that. And you already have tools, but you've been coming to these events for some time. Many of you, I recognize many of your names. So you have knowledge, you have attunement, you have some of it, and let's just keep walking down the path together. So those are my final thoughts.
Mm. Thank you so much, Dolphin. Beautiful. And Scott, like, to honestly bring it back to you, you were the first safe male role model in my life that modeled literally in the intimacy that I never had.
You're
And
going to have to. Scott is napping,
okay,
and
cool.
and so I will tell him that, and he knows that,
Cool.
and that is brilliant. So what I would like to do is I'm going to play us a little digestion song,
Awesome.
and let's just have a wrap up with a little bit of advertising of what's happening this weekend, and of course a wonderful event tomorrow with Christy Michaels and Relation Flicks and whatever you're up to, Emily. So I'm going to highlight myself, and we can dance and sing and all of that. Hang on a minute. There's this one. Whoop. Whoop. Oops. No. Hang on. Hey, can you see us all now? Okay, is that a gallery view? Yes. Okay, good. Well, I'm going to leave it on that. That's pretty cool. And all right. I have you. No seem to come from different sky.
Hey, brother, we're not
What
hearing,
is
not hearing your keyboard.
It's love that shines right through your eyes.
We're not hearing your keyboard.
Yes, we are here.
Omashar?
It's time to leave the past behind.
Omashar, we're not hearing.
Not hearing keyboard.
What? You're not hearing me?
Yeah, something was wrong. Maybe you didn't have original sound on because we weren't hearing your keyboard. We were hearing your vocals, but not keyboard.
To hear you. All right, let's start again. Give me a thumbs up if it's good. I am you. Though we seem to come from different skies. And what is true is love that shines right through your eyes. Yes, we are here and now, and it's time to leave the past behind. So take me by the hand, let us walk across this sacred land. I am you, though we seem to come from different skies. And what is true is love that shines right through your eyes. I'll sail away with you across the universe. I will fly on eagle's wings, and you know we'll cry with gratitude. We remember you're always divinely connected. Our spirits, our bodies are being resurrected. Love in your hearts will lift you up, and I'll come along and fill your cup. I am you, though we seem to come from different skies. And what is true is the love that shines right through your eyes. 1,000 sunny days describes the joy I feel. I'll walk 1,000,000 miles, 'cause you know we'll see the truth reveal. And we will remember you're always divinely connected. Our spirits, our bodies are being resurrected. The love in your hearts will lift you up, and I'll come along and fill your cup. Cause what is true is a love that shines right through your eyes.
I have a request that we put our hands out to our the sides of our screens and share maximum grace with each other in our healing journeys, mutual care and support. And you're welcome to join me in toning Om as we do that.
Thank you, Sylvia. You rock, sweetheart. And
So do all of you, Om Ashar and everyone. Thank you. And
so before we get back to Emily and Dolphin, I'd like to bring on Christy Michaels, who has a very wonderful event happening tomorrow. And go for it, Christy.
Thank you. Actually, I want to give a shout out to to Emily because I've been a longtime friend of Scott Katamas, and when he moved out of the area and you moved into the scene with him, I kept thinking we were going to cross paths. But anyway, I've always loved your Facebook lives that you guys used to do, and even when you were duking it out or whatever, it was wild. And I've just been such an admirer of yours and your courage and strength to traverse this unbelievable path. So it's so great to actually meet you. And can
Thank
you
you.
believe that, Scott? We're just meeting for the first time, really.
Wow. Wow. Such
Yeah.
a blessing. Thank you.
You're welcome. But
Amazing.
every year I've done this, what I call Enlightened Partnership, that came from when I went to a workshop with Barbara Marx Hubbard. And Barbara, I asked her a question, about how are we going to have conscious evolved relationships? And she was like struggling in her partnership. And so she said, well, we better get together with those people who are actually doing the work of exploring the edges of that, which Emily, I think you explored edges like unbelievable. You're an edge master. And so I thought that's a great idea. So I started doing that. And this is, I think, going to be my 14th year. And Scott has agreed to come on with Deborah, Juliet, and they're going to talk about exploring the edges together in a new relationship, full of the wisdom. Although I see you're looking pretty sick there, Scott. I'm praying you'll be well enough and recovered enough to
Yeah,
come through.
I hopefully will feel much better by tomorrow.
Yes, but we have
Came home last night and I've been
a great group of all of Scott's friends. Deborah, I mean, Donnie and Heather are going to be on, and from Maui with the Maui Center. And I've got Dan, it used to be Craig Morris from Sebastopol, and his new beloved, Diana Kelly. And and then lots of old friends that will be coming on. These are all people that have really done a lot of deep work in this. And then I'm going to share a little bit about what the Course in Miracles and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene says about enlightened partnerships and what the pathway is and how to do it. So I'm really excited about it and looking forward, because boy, do we need power couples. The modeling that we have in the leadership of this world is so limited, and we need conscious, evolved partnerships that
So,
have.
Christy, how do we sign up for it? Do you have
Yes, you can go to my website, and all the information's there, and the RVP. I'll put it in the chat. And
It's online, right?
yes, it's an online event on Zoom, and so just click on that link and you'll go to it and see and come and learn about what Scott and Deborah are going through. She may have not realized what she signed up for, but I promise you, there's so much love there, and the field of love with everybody is just awesome. So, yeah, you can scroll on up a little bit more. No, the other way. Oh, there you'll see the two of them, and then you can scroll down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's relatively new. That was
Yes, and yeah. Very good.
So,
So
what is the website again for that, for our Facebook and
it's
YouTube listeners?
it's Gospel of Mary Magdalene.info, and then you / enlighten partnership. Or it's also the homepage will get you into. You can click on the link.
So Gospel of Mary Magdalene.info. Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me give a shout out.
Absolutely. And I would like to bring back on Dolphin and Emily now, so we can have. Oh, thank you, Christy. We love you so much.
Yes, I love you too. It's awesome.
See you tomorrow.
Well, Dolphin, you want to go first? Tell people how they can find you and a little bit about if you're offering anything at this time.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I just want to give everyone, if you haven't already seen, where are we here? Yeah. So This is the platform. Stephen Rowland was on the program last year. Can everyone see the basically it's a browser window with RelationFlix, a purple bar across the top. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, it's great. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the main video page. So it's a relationship education platform. We have lots of videos. I'm here, Steven's here. We can see our lovely friend Scott has a bunch of content on the platform. I don't think Emily's on the platform yet, but we would love to have you. And what's also there, other than the videos and courses, we also have a really amazing educator list, a podcast, which I run weekly. Emily, we've spoken a little bit. I would love to book a time to have you on. And
We
what will
actually
be...
have a call next week.
Oh, we do. We booked it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. Okay. I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll be launching a writers community sometime later this year. We have live broadcasting that happens. We're going to start to do kind of hot seat coaching and workshops that will come through the program. And eventually we'd like to start to do more live events and hybrid events that will happen in person and online. So lots of things cooking and lots of resources and support available to people that want to just accelerate and expand their journey down the relationship mastery pathway. So that's RelationFlix. I'll put the URL in the chat. It's relationflix.com. And for me, I think the best ways is probably Facebook and Instagram. If you just go I'm going to put it in the chat here, at Dolphin Casper. That's my handle, and I'm very easy to find. There's no other Dolphin Caspers out there. And in terms of getting in touch with me, if you want to get on a call or you want to talk a little bit more about the things that I'm up to or how I might support people in personal and relational transformation, again, just go to my Instagram, and my bio link has those opportunities. And I have a program happening this June that's basically a weekend intensive that is you're guided through an understanding of my particular kind of framework for the human condition and the integration and healing of the human condition. And then we get into a full day of personal transformation and then a full day of relational transformation. So that's June. Again, just get in touch with me on Facebook or Instagram, and I will get you the information you need for that. And I'll just put the RelationFlix website as well and pass it back over to Emily. Again, Emily, it was just a pleasure listening to you, being here with you in the space. Scott, Omashar, thank you for holding this space so lovingly and consistently. And everyone that was here, it's been a total pleasure for me. So thank you and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you so much, Dolphin. Such a pleasure to be alongside you here. Notice myself just tearing up a little bit, just feeling so grateful to be in communion and with everybody on the call. Thank you for so beautifully diving in. And I just feel so much love pouring out of my heart. If you do feel a desire to, I'm not going to actually do a screen share because I want to be able to look and see at all your faces. And I feel like more connected this way. My personal practice, I just cleared out a bunch of clients, and I'm pretty available, and I'm excited. If you feel a resonance with me and you feel like you want to get on a call and have a consultation, I'm offering to the first 3 people that email me Global Peace Tribe at emilyoram@gmail.com. And I'm going to write this in the chat box. You're going to get a 60-minute consultation for $111, which is way below my prices. And in that, I'm going to ask you to fill out an application, and we're going to dive in. We're going to dive in and find out what you are looking to create at this time in your life as it relates to love, intimacy, sexuality, and a little bit of your roadblocks. And then by the time we get off the call, you're going to know, okay, where you are and where you can go, and a little bit about what that process would look like, and then what I feel that it would take to get you there. So if you're feeling a resonance to that, and that feels like a yes, I'm going to go ahead and put that right here, my email, and you can find me at theheartninja.com. So, and I'm all over socials. And my stuff's pretty edgy. I do a lot of stuff in the realms of sexuality and sex positivity and open relating. So some of you might feel a little freaked out or scared by that. I get some of that from these crossover communities. But if you get to know me, I'm a gushing heart, and I love people, and I'm safe, even though I traverse in these other realms that are sometimes scary for people. I'm a pretty cool person. You don't have to be scared. If you're scared, it's okay.
I want to just say it's really true. She's an amazing coach, because one of the reasons that she can do the work in with some clients that, are dealing with sexuality is that's where the biggest issues of shame can come up. And Emily, life and God send her people that really want to work on their self-love and their shame issues. And she does it with so much love and gentleness. So I highly recommend Emily as a coach.
And Emily, just a little while ago, you said something to Scott when he was offline for a minute. What was that? Do you remember?
Yeah,
About him?
Scott, you were the first man that came into my life that showed me what intimacy was about. You were the first modeling of the person that came into my life that showed me what safe intimacy was and how to know what that is and how to create it in myself and with others.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you so much.
And thank
So
you.
we're about to wrap up, I think, but before we wrap up, I would just like to show us what is on this Saturday in the Awakening World. And here it is. And it's the Soul Search Enlightenment Expo. I don't know where that is, somewhere on the planet, probably in California. And so
in San Rafael, and people can come to it. So for those of you in Northern California, come on Saturday and or Sunday. I'll be doing the Awakening World, assuming if I'm still alive, from the Enlightenment Expo on Saturday night. And then Eden Amador and I are teaching an event on Sunday afternoon at 2:00. It's a relationship satsang, so definitely come visit us.
exactly, and I know you will still be alive, Scott. It might be a new one because I think you're just shedding your skin at the moment. And so let's just everybody go to, I guess we can go to gallery view, and maximum grace for Scott. Scott, brother, you are the best. We love you, and your health is paramount for us. And you're a part of my ecosystem that is really, really healthy. And so we love you, and we shall see you all either tomorrow at Christy Michael's wonderful event on relationships and or Saturday evening for our next exciting adventure on the Awakening World. Emily, Dolphin, brother, sister, thank you so much. Christy, thank you. Sylvia.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful night.
Take care.
Take care.